Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today, and thank you very much for the opportunity to you, Mamta, and the organizers. Just to make sure that you can see my screen, is it all right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's full screen. You can see my my presentation. Yeah. Okay. So as Mamta said, so I will provide you an escape from the core science that you've been talking about this week, and I will be talking about what's happening beyond the science, and in particular this what we call the wider impact of large research infrastructures like the SKAO, and so yeah, how such impact for us is not only a byproduct, if you like, of our science-driven mission and activities, but very much a driver for our activities. So first, I would like to set the scene by proposing a definition of what we call the non-science impact. And obviously, other organizations will use other definitions. But here we talk about the contribution that research make to economy, society, culture, and sustainability. So as you can see, it's quite wide ranging. So just to be clear, and starting with some general considerations, and so there is no ambiguity. Yes, our primary mission, the primary mission of research infrastructures is and remains to deliver world-class science. That's what we are founded for. You know, that's really what drives us. But it's important to acknowledge that the research excellence, as you know, is only part of a much bigger picture, and the research landscape has changed dramatically over the last few years, in particular considering the global context as well. And what was considered before a nice thing to have, like the cherry on top of the cake, if you like. Or better say, like a logical consequence of investment in large research infrastructures, has now become a driver for investment. And so we have to think about the non-science impact early on to build a compelling case for investment, a compelling case to appeal potential funders, investors, and not only the community of scientists and science and enthusiasts. And a good place to start, I guess, is really to look at the past. And there are some great examples out there. If you look at big research infrastructures who've already, demonstrated their value scientifically, there is a strong impact evidence with many examples of spin-offs, which were generated by these research infrastructures, which have made their way across many different parts of society, and that we are using actually in everyday life without necessarily knowing. And radio astronomy is a great example for that as well. And there is, like, again, a strong impact and a number of benefits generated by radio astronomy over time, including the Wi-Fi, like medical imagery, space tracking, reference systems for space navigation and GPS, and so on and so forth. Just, you name it. You've got some great literature out there, about all of these examples. But of course, the main problem is, my crystal ball is as good as yours, basically. And so it's really challenging to predict the impact. So in the SKAO context, just it's worth reminding everyone here that this notion of non-science impact has always been very high on the agenda, and it's really part of our DNA, I would say. If we look back in time, I wasn't involved at the time, but looking at the year 2000 and the late 2000s. You can already see that there were already meetings taking place within the SKA environment, if you like, talking about this stuff, talking about the importance of identifying impact. And so it was quite visionary at the time. And then at the time of during the time of the international negotiations to establish the intergovernmental organization that we now are, the SKA Observatory. Such topic was really front and center, if you like, extremely prominent, to the point that we've made sure that we wrote black and white in the convention, in the SKO convention, the treaty. We put some words to that effect. You can see here a photo of the original of the convention, and in there, this is the preamble of the convention. And I just zoom in to that part, and you can see here what it says. One of the objectives is to embrace the potential for scientific discovery, to contribute in advances in technology and innovation, and to deliver a broader benefit for industry and society. Again, that's part of our convention. Right. So when we talk about impact, what we mean at the end of the day is how, as a global research infrastructure, how are we relevant for society? How do we make sure that we connect our mission to the pressing issues that our world is facing, and that we play our part in addressing those issues, those global challenges, without losing the focus of the primary mission, which is the delivering world-class science? How do we make sure that we build in sustainability into our design and operations, and shape our strategy accordingly, shape our strategy to maximize the impact? And a good framework to use when we start talking about impact and to assess that impact, and a framework which resonates with people and with funders in particular, with our member states, but with society as well, is this UN Sustainable Development Goals, which are widely used and nice and important KPIs. So I'm sure that many of you, most of you, will be familiar with these SDGs, but what you might have not necessarily realized, I would say, is that the SKA project and the SKA Observatory are already and will be addressing many of these SDGs as we progress construction and we get into operations. And actually, all of these SDGs here that I highlighted, we are playing our part in addressing in a humble way, let's face it, but we are doing our best, basically, as I will explain in this talk. An important thing to bear in mind and to start this journey as well is to realize that the SKA, as many of you will know, has been around for quite some time, and the talks that you've been hearing, and just now, Mamta referring to these to the Pathfinder and Precursor facilities, all of that is part of the SKA landscape, if you like. Many countries have been involved in many years of R&D, and building skills, developing science, engineering, industrial and digital capacity, etc., etc. And so, yeah, in many of these countries, you've got Precursor Pathfinder facilities around the world, with in India, obviously, the GMRT. And they are all state-of-the-art facilities in their own right. But all of this investment, which has taken place over the last few years, is already generating impact locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. And we'll be talking about this in a minute in more detail. And what we are planning to do as the SKA Observatory is really to build on that, to carry on this effort and to expand this impact even further. So we already have a few interesting examples. So this one is a great one. Obviously, when COVID hit, a couple of years back, or 3 years back, the world came into shock, not understanding what was happening. And actually, it was quite interesting to see within the SKA context, across the SKO partnership, you could see that partners were starting to wonder, what role can we play, in helping the fight of the disease, basically. And so, and I don't expect to read the blue box, I expect you to read the blue box here, but it's a number of examples from institutions, partner institutions who've done stuff, who've played their part in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. But then I'm focusing here on something which was absolutely great and spectacular, which was in South Africa. And it's basically the South African government, what they did, they tasked our colleagues from SARAO, from the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, to lead the development of new technology ventilators, low-cost ventilators. So there were just a few ventilators in the country at the time. And what they did, they said, well, okay, the skills and the expertise that the Meerkat team in particular had acquired by designing and developing and building Meerkat can be transferred and can be used to great effect to design these ventilators. And that's exactly what they did. So they spent a few months refocusing their activities, talking to the medical industry, to doctors, and different actors to really understand, to break it down and understand the system, and the subsystems, and to be able to design these low-cost ventilators, which they did successfully. And then this turned into the production of thousands of ventilators, which then were used, during the pandemic in South Africa. So that's a great and tangible example of skills transfer, expertise transfer across disciplines, from radio astronomy to the wider society in this case. Another very big area that we are really focusing on as well is what we call science diplomacy, and it's very central to the SKO work. For us as a global organization, and in this world, the SKO is very unique. We bring together countries, nations from across the 5 continents. Bridging the traditional gap, between the North and the South, and having countries working together from around the world. So as such, the SKO, like other international mega facilities, is playing a part in fostering this international connection and interactions at government and international institution level, and act really as a vehicle for collaboration. You can see here a few examples. So on the left, you've got a former UK minister visiting the Australian site with the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time. In the middle, you can see it's our indigenous art astronomy exhibition, Shared Sky, which was displayed in Brussels at the European Commission headquarters. And you can see the then Commissioner for Research and Innovation, Carlos Moedas, talking to the then Ambassador of South Africa, and many other key stakeholders there. And on the right-hand side, you can see a photo, which is quite old now, but it's a photo of the BRICS science ministers in South Africa. So you can see the Indian science minister there as well as part of the delegation. So a great example of science cooperation and science diplomacy. So now I wanted to spend a bit of time just, putting some concrete examples on these words and talking about giving you a helicopter view, if you like, of some of this impact across the partnership. To really, so that you can see the impact in action and how they relate directly to the SDGs. So this one relates to the Australian site. I mean, to not only the site, actually, to Australia. And so, a few examples, cutting across different themes. So you can see on the top left, it's a PV station in the outback, which is used at the moment to power ASCAP and the MWA. And we are planning to expand that so we can power the SKA low telescope using solar energy as well. The top center is a great one as well. So that's a recent photo taken at the celebration ceremony to celebrate the Indigenous Land Use Agreement, to celebrate the signing of this agreement. And this agreement is an agreement between the Australian government and the Aboriginal people around the telescope site, in this case, the Wadjari people. And this was this was absolutely essential for us to reach this agreement, to sign this agreement, because it's basically, in effect, it's a consent from the local, the local stakeholders, for the, from the Wajari population, the owners of the site and native title holders of the site, for us to establish the SKA telescope. And this agreement comes with a number of benefits, direct and indirect benefits, and basically intergenerational benefits for the next decades, in areas such as enterprise and training, and hiring, and promoting the culture, education, etc. You've got some other examples here, of creation of jobs, local jobs during the time of the pre-construction, and obviously some great education initiatives and public engagement initiatives as well, that our partners in Australia have been doing. And so all of this, as I said, is really relevant in the context of the SDG. Another slide here about South Africa. So same thing, focusing on the great initiatives in South Africa and actual impact that we already see. If you look at the left-hand side here, you can see some very interesting examples of some students visiting the site at the bottom left, and really a great way to inspire the next generation into science and astronomy. And the top left is a photo which was taken early December last year in the context of the start of on-site construction, the big ceremonies that we organized. And these individuals that you can see on stage are bursaries, people who benefited from the Sarao Human Capital Development Program. And so they had bursaries, and then this allowed them to to open new doors, open new opportunities, and they were talking about their journey and how getting some getting these bursars from Sarao, from our partners there, really allowed them to get away from their little town, and to basically to embrace new opportunities and to get some very exciting jobs and stuff like that. You can already also see on the top right, a nice photo of what we call the real dance, which are like indigenous people in South Africa who did this dance, which is a traditional indigenous dance in the country, and they did that in the context of the construction ceremonies as well in December, just as a way of celebrating our global endeavor. And so it's great. That's what we are trying to do. We are a global endeavor, but we are very much anchored, with the local communities and trying to play our part in helping the local communities, upskilling the local communities, and so on. So yeah, you've got many examples here again about how we directly, impact and relate on the SDGs. And just to stress,
you got 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just to stress that it's not only in the host countries, it goes beyond, it goes across the partnership. So then again, a snapshot of activities taking place, around the world. You can see you recognize the FAST telescope at the bottom left, and the realization of the FAST telescope really created a brand new ecosystem, if you like, and boosted the tourism, local tourism, astrotourism locally. They've developed what they call an astronomy town. They've got hundreds of thousands of visitors every year, and obviously taking into account the RFI restrictions there. So people have to leave their mobile phones behind and stuff, in the town, and then they visit the FAST telescope. But it's really boosted the economy locally. And then at the bottom right, you can see one of the open days at the GMRT as well, with many people, many students and families. And again, a great way of inspiring the next generation, which is something absolutely important to ensure that we attract people into STEM disciplines, and to ensure that we grow an educated population. And how all of this relates to the SDGs as well. So just looking ahead, as you can see, we already have like many impact stories which are emerging from the early developments across the partnership. And as I said before, we can also look like at the history and look at similar research infrastructures in the past and the impact they've generated. And all of that actually gives us, a lot of confidence that, yes, our projections are sound. And yes, the SKA Observatory will have an impact on society with, immediate and long-lasting benefits for society. We can predict exactly, as I said, what, but we know for sure that it's, that it will be the case. And so our commitment now, is really to walk the walk. I mean, our organization is only 2 years old. We created the intergovernmental organization only 2 years ago. And that's our commitment, to really walk the walk. So you can see here, again, I'm not planning to go through the details of this slide, but I try to sum up basically what I said, so all these different categories, economy, society, culture, sustainability, and break it down into concrete, initiatives that we are planning to enact basically. And I must say that the good news is only 2 years on, we already see this impact, across the board. We've awarded already 500 million euros in worth of contracts across the partnership, which has resulted in the creation of jobs, highly skilled jobs across the partnership. And locally, something which I referred to a minute ago, we've made some provision. We've built in our infrastructure contract some provision for local participation, just to make sure that the local and indigenous small and medium enterprise would take part. And it's not only the big national companies, but also the local companies. So that will mean, some training and some creation of jobs locally, upskilling people, etc. And that will really boost the economy locally, which is something that we want. And now, just to finish, I will finish on one aspect which I know is important for this conference, which is the EDI agenda. You can see it here. Actually, we are planning to contribute to the EDI agenda. It's part of the effort. And so, just again, a helicopter view. It's not exhaustive, but I reached out to my colleagues, asking the sort of initiatives they were doing. And you've got a number of initiatives which have taken place, which are organized by our partners across the partnership. I will not go into the details. I'm conscious of time, but I'm happy to share my slides and to put you in touch with my colleagues if you are interested in some of these initiatives. But as you can see, quite a lot is being done by partners, really ensuring that we play our part in progressing the EDI agenda. And obviously the importance of role models, the importance of role models to appeal to well, in this particular case, to girls, to young women, and to attract them and to inspire them, and for them to aspire to become these individuals. And we've got a few like very fascinating, inspiring role models, female scientists, in very high positions across the partnership, the SKA Council Chair, the new Managing Director of SARAO, a great example. It's the first time ever in the history of astronomy in South Africa that a Black person, and in particular a woman, is appointed to head up a national astronomy facility. The same at Astron, not the first time, but there's Dr. Jessica Dempsey, great advocate for diversity and for EDI matters in general, and the same in Spain with Dr. Lourdes Verdes Montenegro. So fantastic. So a lot is being done, but obviously a lot still needs to be done, and it still can be improved. So just to finish, I will strongly encourage you on this topic to attend the talk from my colleague, Dr. Shari Breen, Head of Science Operations. She will be giving a talk on the SKO EDI implementation plan tomorrow at the same time as me today. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, William. That was excellent. Any questions for William? Right. So just a quick question from my side. So SKA is going to have this EDI policy. Are you planning to club up with other mega projects in the UK or the other mega projects happening with the SKA partners to build a bigger team? Or is there any interest in doing that or no?
So yeah, I think I'm not sure I got all your question, Mamta, but if your question about linking our activities to other partners in the UK and more broadly, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, obviously, we are focusing on what we can do as an observatory, and there's been a lot of work, many discussions the last few years. Again, building on what has been done already, and then trying to improve, all of this. But absolutely, I mean, we are taking part in a number of initiatives and are planning to increase that effort as well, and to basically take lessons learned and good practice from others. So absolutely open to new ideas as well. We need to be creative in that space. There's a number of initiatives out there, but it's important to be creative, to be innovative, and to be open to new opportunities for collaboration as well. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, we have a question from Prajwal Shastri.
Yeah.
Could you unmute her, please? No, it's not possible.
I can't hear Prajwal.
Yeah, she's not unmuted. Yeah. Yes, could you unmute yourself, please, Prajwal, because you're a co-host now. Or otherwise, you can always type your question in the chat box.
So Prajwal has logged in from 2 different devices. I see one that is the co-host.
You are logged in with 2 different devices, is it? You have to unlock one. Unmute one among those 2. She's not able to unmute. Would you
Hello.
Yeah, please type
hello.
Yes, William, we can hear you. She's perhaps typing her question in the chat box.
Okay. My connection also got unstable, so I could. Yeah, I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Look, can you make the other Prajwal's other account co-host? There are 2. Both. Okay, both. Okay, now Prajwal should be able to unmute.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Finally, I was able to do that. So I had a couple of questions. One question was, you mentioned things like introducing astronomy into school curricula, leveraging the SKA and its current status and outcomes, and that's an excellent idea. But is that something that would go across all the collaborating countries? Is that something that the whole collaboration would kind of affirm and uphold? Because, for example, in India, we have been seeing a reverse trend where astronomy, whatever little astronomy was there in school curricula, are being cut out of the school curricula. And there is a sort of subtext, a larger subtext there of intent by the powers that be. So, how would that play out? So that was one question. Maybe I'll ask the next question after you've addressed this.
Okay. Yeah. No. Thanks for that, Prajwal. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not aware, of the situation in all countries and in terms of the formal education, and that will vary absolutely. But what we are planning to do, and it's actually part of the new strategy, which we are now, rolling out, the new communication strategy, is really to look look at the future. Obviously the SK data will start flowing in several years' time, as you know. But we need now, to get ready, to get prepared. There are some other organizations out there, astronomy organizations, who are already building in, this sort of, they are more advanced than us because they will start doing science very, very soon, like the Vera Rubin Observatory. And they are building in, such informal education programs, if you like, or even citizen science programs. And so I'm in relation with them. I'm planning to talk to them to see what needs to be done at this stage to build that in and to make sure that we are ready and we can roll this out, roll this program out, when time comes. But obviously, I would strongly rely on the partners as well, and what can be done already at this stage using the Pathfinder data. And to be honest with you, I don't have a very good idea of what's being done in terms of getting those Pathfinder data into the classroom and develop such programs. So I've got this network of communications experts around the world, and I'm planning to table that in some of our next meetings to really get an understanding and to see what the interest is, from partners to start rolling this out, and we can work all together. So we don't have to wait until SKA data come. Or the SKA telescopes come online, to start doing that. So that's part of the plan.
Long live India and France friendship.